thank you for the good work on the Keystone Pipeline. And obviously, CBS was impressed with your work because they took your report and put it right on the news. So tell us, first of all, what section of the Keystone Pipeline has already been built? The first section, right?
Yeah, so this is the southern leg that runs through Texas.
Okay.
And it's already been buried under the ground. And we started to get reports. We've got a Texas office in Austin. And we started to get calls from landowners saying, TransCanada is coming back and they're digging up the pipeline after they buried it.
But this only went in, about a year ago?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so we started to do an investigation and found 125 separate instances where TransCanada had buried the pipeline and then redug it back up and started to remove sections of the pipe.
No, 125?
So this is very significant. I mean, usually when you're burying a pipeline, you're burying it down there for good. And maybe revisit it in 20, 30 years.
Right.
This illustrates some serious problems in TransCanada's operations, and so we've called for a halt to the rest of the construction work and the permitting process
on the southern
and on the application for the northern portion until we have a full investigation into TransCanada's practices and procedures.
And the northern portion is the one that would go all the way across, 16 states?
Right, yeah. So from Alberta down to Texas. And so, again, this pipeline is designed to carry tar sands crude oil that is mined in Alberta, Canada, and bring it down to the Gulf Coast, where refiners will most likely turn that crude oil into gasoline, diesel, designed for export out of the United States.
The existing pipeline in Texas, is it carrying anything in it right now, or is it just there to carry the sludge or tar sands?
It has not yet been operational, but it would be taking some of this oil from Cushing, Oklahoma.
Right. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So if it's not even yet operational and they're already having problems with it, what kind of problems?
There are improper welds. There's dents in the pipe. There's all sorts of significant imperfections that would increase the likelihood of a spill.
How do they discover these?
We're not sure. We just know that TransCanada has been, digging up pipe that it just recently buried. So that's a problem.
And as I recall from the report that you mentioned dents in the pipeline, that there are areas where there are like big rocks in the soil or something, and they didn't remove the rocks or get them out of the way. They just put the pipeline on top of the rocks. Duh.
Right. Yeah. No. So this just raises some serious operational concerns. We've been seeing an increased number in pipeline accidents. There was a pipeline operated by Exxon, the Pegasus line in Arkansas. There was the Kalamazoo leak in Michigan. There was the Yellowstone leak up in Montana, and actually one of TransCanada's natural gas pipelines in Alberta just sprang a leak last month. So we're seeing a lot of problems, and we don't have adequate independent oversight over the increasing array of pipelines that are under our communities.
All right. Now, this northern end of the pipeline is still under review at the State Department. The recommendation has still not gone to the White House. Are you able to get this information to the people who are looking at the northern end to say, hey, wait a minute, if we got these problems with this little bit that's already underground, what can you expect for this massive?
Yeah, we're going to share this with the State Department. The State Department, it's weird that the State Department is looking at a pipeline, but it's only because it's crossing an international border, Canada and the United States. And so they have to do an environmental impact statement. And one of the things that we're going to be raising is, if TransCanada is having these types of problems, that's going to raise the likelihood of some sort of environmental problem due to a leak. And so I think that is legitimate grounds to have a delay in the permitting process.
What is the timeline? What do you hear from when is the State Department supposed to complete its review and make its recommendations?
We're hearing that the final decision will be at some point in early 2014.
And the president, it's interesting. it's hard to read where President Obama is on this, because he has said, I don't buy the numbers that there are going to be all these thousands and thousands of jobs. I think he said one time like 50 permanent jobs or something, right?
Oh, yeah. To operate a pipeline, it's less than 50 jobs. Now, there are an awful lot of jobs involved in the construction.
Right.
This is a large capital-intensive project. But once the thing is done, those are all temporary jobs. Once the project is complete, it's just the operation. Now, if TransCanada keeps digging up pipe, that's more jobs. So I guess the imperfections in the pipeline it's a perpetual job creator because of the pipeline defections.
If you want to be the president whose legacy is that I'm the one who put this country in a new direction toward renewable energy, and wind and solar, and reducing our dependency on fossil fuels, how can you possibly approve the Keystone Pipeline?
Exactly. And it would be one thing if the Keystone Pipeline was going to lead to energy independence or lower energy prices for struggling households and motorists, but it's not going to do any of those things. We're already getting 1 million barrels of Canadian tar sands crude every single day into the Midwest United States, where it's refined and processed into gasoline. But that's not lucrative anymore because the United States isn't using as much gasoline as we used to. Where the money is getting that gasoline and diesel into the international market, where you can charge higher prices and refiners can have bigger profits. And the largest export right now in the U.S. economy is refined petroleum products like gasoline and diesel. And 75% of that is coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. So that's what the Keystone Pipeline is all about. It's all about getting landlocked Canadian crude oil into an international port where it can be exported to China and other countries.